Hi guys, it's Monique from earlylearningmom.com. Today I'm here to do a video about why we decided to switch our son Zachary from the Institute in Philadelphia to the Doman International. And I just wanted to come share our experiences and why we made this choice. It's not to say that this choice is for everybody. But it just worked out what was best for us. So basically, just to give you a little back history, back in 2016, I boarded a plane. I'd never traveled by myself before. I think I had been on two trips by plane. Yeah, 2 trips by plane. One with my parents and one with my husband and son. And that was years before. I got on a plane and I flew to Philadelphia to take a course at the Institute for the Achievement of Human Potential. And basically, at this program, we learned how we could make some changes in our home and create programs and help our children go from special needs to wellness. And it was life-changing. It was frankly life-changing. The experience itself, for me to get away, I was an exhausted mom at this point. Raising 2 special needs boys, I was exhausted. And especially with my youngest, it is 24 hours. And a lot of the times, I'm the only one that's who he wants. And so it was really good for my husband and my son to have that time where I was gone for 8 days. So him and Dad and my son, they all worked through me not being here. And it was really good for everybody. And I stayed in a program called A Host for Hospitals. So I was staying in a stranger's home. I was so blessed. I was paired up with the most amazing family, and it was an exhausting 8 days, 8 weeks, oh my goodness, 8 days. And basically we were there for 10 to 12 hours a day in a ridiculously cold auditorium. And when I say cold, I mean it's like a morgue. There's no other way to describe it. Apparently the perfect temperature to keep the body learning or the brain learning is set at this ridiculously cold temperature, and that's what they keep it at. So anyhow, I went there, took this course. It was amazing. Met some great friends that I'm still friends with today through Facebook, and we keep in touch. And I made some great relationships with the staff at the Institute. And a year later, in 2017, with the blessings of the Elks of Canada, they paid our tuition. We paid our flights and our hotels, but they paid our tuition. Zachary, myself, and my husband flew down to Philadelphia together, and I took him to the Institute's, the campus. And the first day we did assessments or went over kind of like, it was basically assessments and going over medical history and all that good stuff. The Tuesday and the Wednesday, I took lecture series 2 of the What to Do About Your Brain and Your Child course. And then Thursday and Friday, we learned the programs. And Saturday, we went home. Actually, Saturday, we didn't go home. Air Canada canceled our flight, and we had to find a room last minute, and we stayed in this, hotel that, yeah, that's another story. Never fly Air Canada. That's all I gotta say. They were horrible to us. So anyhow, we came home Sunday night, and we got working on this program, and it was life-changing. It was amazing. And then, so we ran through this program. At the 6-month mark, I didn't feel like we were ready for another assessment. I felt like we were still getting a lot from the program. We did it for about a year and a bit. And like I shared in another video, we started doing some government-funded ABA. Well, we added in kind of like a health program, Amy Yasko and loosely following that based on genetics and stuff like that. And so we've created a much healthier and happier child. So now I need to decide whether what I'm going to do, basically. Because in the meantime, so we went in 2017, and at the end of 2017, the institutes split into two kind of companies, organizations, I guess you would call them. And originally they were supposed to be linked. So one was supposed to take care of Europe, that side of the world, and one was supposed to take care of, like, North America, South America. It didn't work out that way. It was turned into a messy split, and they severed ties. And, I really struggled because technically, the Institute's been around for 60 years. They've done amazing things. But everybody that we had really grown close to at the Institute was kind of kicked out. They were fired because they were splitting off, and Doman International was going to be a little bit less elite, per se, like less their way is the only way. They were very open-minded to looking at other ways, anything that could help a child. Now, they're not going to do anything that is proven, but they're willing to look into it, basically. Whereas the Institute kind of has their set ways. They say they're looking for stuff, but they're not that open to new things. So if you're doing something different with your child than what's on plan, like nutritionally, supplementary, anything like that, they're kind of black and white with that. Like, parents are hiding that from the staff at the Institute, where the staff that's split off with Doman International, they want to hear about that. They want to hear about parents' experiences with different supplements or different, like, hey, that worked for your child? Oh, and that worked for your child too? We're going to get our guys and we're going to look into this. And we're going to be, see if what we can do. They basically, they want to learn from parents. They know we're in the trenches. Whereas, like, I had a run-in with the Institute. I wrote this article on my blog, and it was basically, hey, this is how I create homemade books. Lickety-split, like super fast. Here is a list of topics that I talked about on homemade books. I'm not teaching them how to teach the homemade books. I'm just showing parents quicker ways to make the materials. And the more materials you have, the faster you can teach your child. So to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like absolute, like, I learned this on my own. I want to share it with all the parents so they can save time, so they don't waste their time like I did at the beginning. I had two different responses. I posted it on the Doman International parent group, that if you've taken one of the courses and you're working with them, you can be on there. Or if you've taken the What to Do About Your Brain Injured Child course, you can be on the Institute's page. I'm a member of both. I posted it on both. I had two separate responses. The Institute took my article off and basically told me, you're a parent, you're not to be teaching. When you took this course, it was not to teach parents what to do. You are not there. I have been teaching parents for thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. So you can feel free to share it on your blog, but we're not sharing it on our Facebook group. And I'm not talking like a public Facebook group. This is a private Facebook group. Basically told me, you have no grounds. Keep your stuff to yourself. We don't want to hear about it. And I was stunned. I was using their materials from their books and just saying, hey, if you go online and you find the materials and you copy and paste it and you blow it up and you find your own pictures, you can make a book in 10 minutes. Whereas if you're writing them by hand and you're, finding pictures and printing out pictures, it could take you an hour to make one book. Maybe. That's generous. That's if you're going quick. So I was like really stunned by this response. I'm not teaching them how to do it. I'm teaching them how to make the materials so they can follow your program. So anyhow, that was a response, and I was really stunned. 5 or 10 minutes later, somebody from the Doman International reached out to me, and they said they loved my article. They shared it on their public page. A bunch of their staff members shared it. A bunch of the members of the group shared it. And then they gave me free range, and they asked me to write a guest post on their blog, because they want to hear what parents are doing. They want to hear they want to learn from parents. They don't want to give you a program that is so strenuous and doesn't have any of your input that you just quit. And that sometimes happens. Like, parents are so ambushed by this, and they feel like I wrote about this in my guest post about the burnt out parent and what happens when you burn out. And yes, the Institute and Doman International, they give you this beautifully packaged program and tell you, go and do it. But there are different stages in people's lives, and there are different times. Like, if you have a sick parent, you have a sick grandparent, you have a baby in the family, you have marital issues, you have health issues. There's so many things that can change where your program is coming from, and they talk about that in the course. But when it comes down to it, they don't want to hear about what parent hacks that parents are doing to make this easier. Doman International does. So that made my decision very clear. That made me realize that my gut to go with Doman International was the right way to go, because we are, like I said, doing amazing following the genetic testing and biomedical testing and doing supplements according to that. That was one area of when we went to the Institute I was really disappointed with, was the supplements and the health area. You know, they told me what I should feed my kid. Yeah, have you ever tried to make an autistic kid eat spinach? I have trouble sometimes getting typical kids to eat foods like that. And so I just felt like I didn't get the support. And then when Doman International split, they split, we had an amazing advocate. We were working with Spencer Doman, top notch. He was amazing. If I had a question for him, I could email him and he'd give me an answer. Then we got switched to a different staff member, and I'm not going to name names because it doesn't help anything, and I'm not here to out anybody professionally. But we received a different staff member, and I would ask a simple question. One like, hey, I read that we should switch probiotics. What are your thoughts on that? Like, what is the medical staff's thoughts on that? And I was told that we would need to come back for another visit and have all new blood tests done and all of the tests done, and then she would tell me. Now, we were still in our 6-month period. We had just had a visit. We still had a couple months left in our support. But she was telling me, like, I was asking her to change, like, an epilepsy medication or something. Like, this is a probiotic, a general probiotic that a lot of the kids get prescribed. And, well, first of all, she told me to go and research it on this website. I told her I paid thousands of dollars to have this 6-month support. I would like you to take this question to the medical staff. Medical staff came back and gave me an answer. But every answer from her was, instead of walking me through it or supporting me, it was, come back for lecture series 3 and learn more. Okay, well, that's fine and dandy, but I'm still paying from lecture series 2 and from my assessment. Like, I paid for this 6 months of support, and basically every email back from you is a commercial for lecture series 3. I never had that with Spencer. Spencer never pushed me to go back for lecture series 3. He supported my decision when I was talking to him about waiting and feeling like we were still getting things out of the program. So that was just night and day. That just proved to me that, like, basically I had to tell them, like, what did I pay you for? I need this support and I'm not getting it. And I don't know, maybe my advocate that I was assigned was like that and maybe other advocates weren't. But I know I had Rosalind, Spencer, Morgan, Melissa. I worked with, we kind of, like, we basically, when we were in Philadelphia, those were the people that we worked with. And those were the people that went over to Doman International. So I had respect for these people. I had relationship with these people. These people knew my kids. They seemed to generally care about them and remembered who I was. And, you know, remembered, like, just the little things, like remembered, hey, you know what? You have a different last name than your son. You're not, I don't want to say my son's name on here, but they called me by my actual last name and remembered me as a person instead of a script that everybody seemed to follow at the Institute. And so, like I said, this is just my experience. It's not to say everybody's going to have that experience with the Institute, but, and a lot of people are ready to conform and not ask questions, and that's seems to be who they like. Like the people that are left at the Institute, they seem to not like the people that ask questions. They don't want to hear from my experience. They don't want to hear about what's happening to the parents in the trenches unless it fits with their ideals. If everything, you're following exactly what they say and you're coming out and you're saying everything's amazing, everything's sunshine and lollipops, they want to hear about it. But they don't really want to hear about, like, the issues that come up in my experience. So that is the main reasons why we have decided that come August we are doing a remote advanced consultation with Doman International. It's basically set up very similar to the program, to the visits that we would do when we were, if we were to go to them. But instead, we can stay in the comfort of our own home. My son can go to sleep every night in his own bed. We don't have, that was a nightmare. When we were in Philadelphia, was getting my son to sleep. It'd be like 1 in the morning, and he'd finally pass out. And they would be like, great, it's 7, we need to get up because we need to be out the door by 8, and at the Institute by 9, and through Philadelphia traffic. So, it just didn't, he was tired. He was really tired. He wasn't eating properly because, you know, we could only grab certain things and we didn't have a full kitchen. So here he can eat his regular food. He can sleep in his regular bed. He can play with his regular toys. And I don't have to up and leave my other children. My oldest will be going to camp that week, so he won't be here during the day. I'm taking the week off of work. Actually, like I'm taking 2 weeks off the week after. We're hopefully renting a cabin and going to like an Airbnb cabin and going away and having a family vacation and being close to home, somewhere where we can drive. Not a place where we're stuck with a flight canceled at the last minute when we're on our way to the airport and stuck in Philadelphia with no place to stay and a special needs child and terrible, terrible airlines. Never fly Air Canada. My personal experience, I will never, ever pay a red cent to Air Canada again after we were treated that way, the way we were. So it's just a great, I'm really excited. So we're going to meet with Doman International. We're going to have a day where we go over nutrition. We're going to have a day where we go over the intellectual program. We're going to have a day where we go over the physical program. We're going to have a day where we go over like respiration and that kind of health related stuff. And then the 5th day, they meet with us and they kind of give us an entire program. And then we have support with them for 6 months. So I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be great to get back onto those programs. I think, you know, we are pretty much done with some of the programs. We need some fresh stuff. Zakari has grown. He's developed into such an amazing little boy. He's so much calmer. And like I said, using the genetic testing, we have done some healing with him, and now we're presenting Doman International with a healthier little boy to work with. And I know they're going to be able to do so much with him. So anyhow, I think this video is long enough. It's about 20 minutes. If you've lasted this long, thank you so much. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you have any questions, if you want to hear me talk about any more of this stuff. I won't get into the reason why they split. There's a lot of hearsay. There's a lot of, I did get an email from Janet Doman when I read it. Some of it was true, some of it was half true, some of it was just completely blown out of proportion. But, I'm only getting a bit of this side and a bit of that side, and of course, I'm not getting a lot from some people that probably could give me a lot of information because they are staying professional. And I believe that a lot of the people from Doman International would have liked this to stay a little bit more professional, but it was blown out, and I'm sure some of the people at the Institute didn't want this getting blown out the way it was, but it was. And so I won't get into a lot of that because I don't know if the information I'm giving is accurate, and only the people that work there can give adequate information. And I think what's done is done, and honestly I think it's probably for the best. So once again, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out my blog, www.earlylearningmom.com. I'm hoping that in August that I will sit down and kind of do videos after each kind of appointment. I know I promised that when I went both times, and it was really overwhelming being out there in Philadelphia. So I'm hoping that, and overwhelming in a good way, I should say. I was just tired at the end, but hopefully without the being at home, I'll be able to share more easily our experiences. So thank you for watching, and I hope to talk to you guys soon.